This is a recording of the Faith Ecology Network 10 Ways to Care, Painting the Big Picture resource kit. In 2020 to 2021, the Faith Ecology Network developed a resource called 10 Ways Faith Groups Can Care for Biodiversity. This has 3 main principles and 10 ways in which we can show our care. You can see the level of detail and the amount of work that went into developing this resource. It was compiled by Sue Martin, Anne Lanyon and Jason John in FEN workshops through 2020 and 2021 and provides a framework for communities, in particular faith communities, to listen and learn, reflect, contemplate and act. It has examples from First Nations peoples, scientists, activists, community groups and various faith traditions. In the FEN group, we were wondering, how can we share these 10 ways? We want to present the material in an engaging way on the website and in other media. We want our network of networks to have a great and compelling resource, particularly a resource for communication and education. I was drawn to a concept from Judaism articulated by Abraham Joshua Heschel that contrasts keva, the structure and details, with kavanah, spontaneity of our heart. How can we add some more kavanah, some more spontaneity, joy and beauty to the wonderful keva, all of the detail and thought and care that's gone into producing a structure of 10 ways to care. At the same time as we were doing this work, I became aware of the work of Brenna Quinlan. She's an Australian artist and permaculturist who's worked with many other artists and authors, other people in permaculture and the sustainability movement, and produces a unique and distinctive style. The work was featured on, and herself and her life work was featured on ABC's Gardening Australia.
I'm Brenna and I'm an illustrator and educator focusing on permaculture and sustainability. I also try to live what I preach. So my art is pen and watercolour. That means that I draw the image in pencil and then go over it in pen. And sometimes I'll then paint with watercolour straight onto the page. Other times I'll photocopy it onto heavier duty paper that takes the watercolour better and then hand paint with watercolour on top of that. I aim to use characters that people can relate to, that are really expressive, really lively, and I really focus on having bright colours and strong symbols that help to get the message across and also draw people in, make people want to look at my work. It's been shown that most people are visual learners and also that we retain information more easily if we can see it visually as opposed to hearing it or reading that information. So in my work, I pair up with authors or academics or NGOs, projects, organisations, and I try to make complex information more digestible, more accessible for people and also more exciting, because if we're not having fun while we're doing this kind of stuff, then we'll be less likely to do it in the future.
When we contacted Brenna, she said that she was excited to work with FEN on the project and reflected that mobilising faith networks is such a powerful thing to do in this context of responding to the climate emergency and finding new and more sustainable ways to live. So this work, which I'll leave up for a little while for you to have a look at, is the key image that ties together the 10 principles of 10 ways to care. Each of them has a little hero image associated with each principle, and then it ties it together to the Faith Ecology Network logo and the title of the work that can be used as a type of key branding or lead-in. Each of those 11 smaller images has a smaller has its own image that can be used in resources and resource kits, as well as the master image. So we put together a small example of how some of those might be structured in a PowerPoint. The first one is listen to wisdom from the elders, and you can see the focus on Indigenous wisdom, the yarning circle, the opportunities to sit and learn. I've drawn together the 3 principles at the bottom, and I've added in the text from the 10 Ways to Care PDF resource kit. Growing your sense of place, as the gardeners have the trees planted in years before growing above them. Learn from the sciences, as the 2 little junior scientists are investigating and making some observations of a native bee. Join local groups under the Landcare banner and all of the other opportunities there are. Learning and teaching one another as we become eco-citizens. Bringing nature into worship and gatherings. Observe a seasonal calendar, and here we particularly wanted to focus on observing and learning from the natural world that surrounds us, the wattle bloom and the eel seasons, for example, in different parts of Australia. Be an active voice, and here we see bringing the human front voice for the environment forward. And here in the next one, growing the wonder of nature, 2 small people in the big wide world. Then we have share successes. 2 people sit in friendship and fellowship and share their successes, perhaps on a podcast. And then we see how this draws together into the main icon, sitting and linking together the 10 ways to care. In 2022, we hope to work with our network of networks to develop the written and visual resources of 10 ways to care to provide a compelling and very useful resource kit for education and for the many community groups in our network of networks. Thanks for your time.